Hello everyone, my name is Blessing Okorobo and I would like to welcome you specially to today's health class. The topic is going back to the garden. When I say go back to the garden, what comes to your mind? If someone says go back to the garden, it means you were once there before. And it might not necessarily mean you as a person, but man as a species has been in the garden before now. And a whole lot has happened and man has drifted away from the garden. I'd like to define garden as a place where life is created from the elements of nature. A garden is a place where life is created from the elements of nature. So if I say you should go back to the garden health-wise or food-wise, I'm trying to say in your choices of food, learn to pick foods that carry life from the elements of nature. And I'm going to be talking about the 4 R's to sustain and recover your health. The reason why I said sustain and recover is because I believe I'm talking to 2 sets of people. That is, those who are healthy, but they just want to up their game when it comes to their choices of food. And then those who are sick and they really want to recover their health from their food. So the 4 R's to sustain and recover your health is what I'm going to be talking about. Number 1 is to recognize. The word recognize, what are you recognizing? You must recognize the foods that are beneficial to your health and the ones that are not. How do you recognize the food that are beneficial and the ones that are not beneficial? A lot of times you hear people saying, I want to eat healthy food. I don't want to eat unhealthy food. What is the basis of judging foods that are healthy and the ones that are not healthy? What is your yardstick for picking foods that are healthy and the ones that are not healthy? I have so many points, but I'm just going to pick 2 for the sake of this class. One of the basis of judging a food that is healthy and a food that is not healthy is based on your makeup. So you pick foods that can easily be digested. If a food can easily get digested in your body, it means it is healthy. The second point I'm going to be talking about is foods that carry life, that can supply life to the cells of your body. If any food fits into these 2 criteria, it is a healthy food. So many other points are going to be coming out in the main class. I'm just picking 2 for the sake of this class. So I also listed 3 points to help you understand this concept of choosing healthy foods and unhealthy foods. Remember I said you must be able to recognize foods that are healthy and recognize foods that are unhealthy. If you must do this, then you must understand the concept of the garden, the fence, and the factory. The garden, I'll just list two foods you find in the garden. Number 1 is fruits. Number 2, vegetables. And we can say these fall under plants. And then in the factory, I will also list 2 for the sake of this class. In the paid class, I'm going to be saying a whole lot about it. I think that should be day 2 when I'll be talking about hunger and appetite. So for this, you find soft drinks, and then you find white refined flour. It is from your flour you get cakes, you get your meat pie, you get your donuts, you get your bread, etc. So if you can understand the concept of the garden, the concept of the factory, and the concept of the fence, you've been able to identify foods that are healthy and unhealthy. Now, the basis of defining food that come from the garden is majorly, number 1, foods that get life from nature. And then the factory, like the word goes, it comes from the factory. These foods in this category carry no life, they carry no nutrients, and they are not easily digested. But the foods that come from the garden, they carry life, they carry nutrients, and they are easily digested. And so if you want to choose healthy and unhealthy, this should be the basis of your choice. And then we'll talk about the food on the fence. They are neither here nor there. They carry little life and little nutrients. Most times they are not easily digested. But if they are well combined with food from the garden, it will help a whole lot. So you find your red meat here, not white meat, your red meat. When you eat red meat, it's very difficult for the body to break it down and digest it. So it can stay there for a long period of time. But if you're eating red meat and you're combining it with foods from the garden, it becomes easy for the body to digest your red meat. In the next class, I'm going to be talking about some other foods you find in the fence. I just gave you a little note on how you can understand foods that come from here. And then when you come to the factory, these foods that come from the factory actually puts the body through a whole lot of stress. That means if I take in soft drinks, for my body to normalize and balance itself, because the body has a way of dealing with these foods when it is not taken for a long period of time. So for your body to normalize and balance itself, it must go to its enzyme bank or nutrient bank to draw out things that can help to balance the body. Let me give you an instance, just one instance for the benefit of this class. Okay, so for example, if you take soft drink and soft drink gets into your system, I hope you know that there are so many things that makes up a bottle of soft drink. Some things you've never seen or heard of before. Now, when it gets into your system, unlike carbohydrates that get into your system from plants, the digestion of carbohydrates starts from the mouth and then the stomach and all that. But when this is coming in, there is no digestion whatsoever taking place. So it just goes straight down into your system. And when your body sees that has happened, it has to balance up the pH of the body. So what does it do? It goes to your enzyme bank and draw out nutrients or enzymes that will be able to balance up the system. Every time you take all of this, your body goes here to draw enzymes. Every time your enzymes leaves this point, this bank, and comes to make up for this, you're running out of enzymes. What is the function of the enzyme? The enzyme is supposed to help you digest your foods that you take in normally. They have enzymes for carbohydrates, they have enzymes for proteins, they have enzymes for fats. So if there are no enzymes to break it down, what happens? It becomes very difficult for your body to handle food whenever food comes in. And then sometimes some of us fall sick and we feel like, my eyes are dazzling me, it's as if I want to fall. At that point, you reach out for food and you eat. After eating, let's say like 5-10 minutes time, you find yourself going back to that same point. The reason is because what you're eating is actually food. It carries energy and it can fuel your body to do some little things around. But your food is not getting to the point of your cells. Your cells cannot actually draw life from those foods. And so when it is coming in, it's as if you're just giving it garbage in, garbage out, and empty food is coming in. That's why I said any food that is coming from the factory carries no life and it carries no nutrients. And so when it comes in, there is no way it can be of any help or use to your body. So what do? The next step is to remove or to reduce. For someone that just wants to live healthy, that is not really sick, you can decide to reduce some of these foods coming in from the factory. The three when I'll be talking about hunger and cravings in the seminar, I'll be listing some other foods that falls into these three categories. So you must reduce foods that fall here and here. When you talk of red meat, it's difficult for the body to deal with red meat, not white meat. So if you want to, for you that is not sick, you can reduce your intake of red meat. And then if you're sick and you really want to reclaim your health, you must remove red meat from your food. Number 2, you must remove factory food from your food. And if you must take this one that fall under this category, you must minimize it and increase your intake of foods from the garden. The next point is to replace. I posted something online. I said, if you want to live healthy and you believe that the food you're eating is unhealthy and you want to change, make sure you know what you're changing to. Because if you don't know what you're changing to and you decide to starve your body, you end up being more sick than the one who is eating what you call unhealthy. So you must know what you're replacing with. So for example, I want to replace my red meat. What do I go for? You go for fish, because it's easy for the body to deal with fish. And if you cannot do that, you can go for white meat. It's also easy. In the class, I'm going to be listing a whole lot. So you replace. And then the number 4 is to revitalize. What does it mean to revitalize? It means to refuel. You can refuel. And you don't refuel with food from the factory or food from the fence. You refuel with food from the garden. That is where life is. You see a plant. While we were in secondary school, we were taught how to grow beans plants. And they gave us containers to use. We did an experiment. Some were kept outside. Some were kept in the classroom. Some were kept at the window, not too close from the sunlight. And we discovered that those that were kept close to the window, we found out that they were tilting towards the direction of sunlight. Because why? They know what gives them life. They know where they derive strength from. If you don't give them water, they will die. If there is no sunlight, they will die. If there is no air, they will die. If you keep them in a dark room, they will die. The only species that are confused about what we give them life is human beings. Animals are not confused, except of course the animals that we train ourselves. So you see us taking dogs to the hospitals because we're already confusing them. And human beings are also confused. They don't know what to eat, when to eat, how to eat. You're eating, you're rushing your food. You can't even chew your food properly. And you want to eat rice. Take for example, you're eating carbohydrate food, like rice. As the food gets into your mouth, it has to be broken down. So when you're chewing it, you're releasing enzymes that are capable of breaking it down. But if you just swallow it and gulp it down, you're not doing yourself any good. So anytime food is placed before you, you must know that this is serious business. I want to get something into my stomach. We have lost that on the essence of food. And that's why we stay here. If you talk, sometimes I've spoken to some people and I'm like, if you want to live healthy, this is where you go to. And they're like, that means you don't want us to eat again now. You don't want someone to eat anything again. You see the mindset. Because what you're saying now, it means we will not eat anything. And sometimes I wonder, what is the concept of food? The definition of food is anything we take in to nourish our bodies. So you're taking something like this that cannot nourish your body. What then is the essence of taking it? I'm not saying you should not in cases of emergency. You can. But let it not form the number 1 point of what you put in your mouth. Let it not form the major food you take in per day. In the main class, I'm going to be talking about how you can combine food from the fence and food from the garden to make the most out of it. So when it comes to revitalizing, you don't revitalize from the factory or the fence. Revitalize from the garden. That is where life is. So anytime you're sick, your major point, your number 1 point is to look at for what will revitalize your system and give life to your cells. Because once your cells are okay, it is the cells that make up the organs. So you hear people saying my organs have packed up, my liver has packed up, my kidney has packed up. You're not supplying the right nutrients and the right energy for them to function. So in the seminar, I'm also going to be listing some of the things you can use to revitalize your body. And then in this class, I'm also going to be doing 1 or 2 practicals on things you can use to revitalize your body. So we see parents, sometimes their children are working and they're like, Junior, if you can do this, I'll buy you ice cream. You are not compensating your child with food that carry no life. And then these children grow with that mindset, that mentality, and then they pass it on to their children, and the children pass it on to the others. That is how it is. When it comes to replacing your food, when you've removed and you want to replace, it's not an easy thing at all to replace, because over the time we have built a mindset that this is what our food is supposed to look like. So aside the physical changes, there must be a mental work that must be done on you to make you change your mind about all of these foods. How can you wake up in the morning and say, if you don't see bread, you can't eat breakfast? What are you getting from the bread? Now, if I take away the bread, the tea you're taking, what is coming out from the tea? And some people can stay on that food morning and evening. And then in the afternoon, they can go back to rice. The best way you can revitalize is staying close to the soil. Some of us have leaves at our backyards. We have scent leaf, lemongrass, we have ugu leaf. You must not travel abroad to buy spinach or lettuce. That's what you see online most times. But the ones you have with you that carry life, how many times do you take them? If you discover that most of our foods come from this or this, It is high time we go back to this point. That is the only way you can reclaim, you can sustain and recover your health. Okay, so it's time for practical. I'm not going to be doing so much because there's actually a class for this. I think day 3, benefits of nature. I'm going to be doing a whole lot of practical. But for today, I'm just going to be showing you what the garden looks like. This is water leaf. The whole of this is just 100 naira. Yes, 100 naira. But you'd rather go for something of 1,000 naira. And this is where life is. As it is, you can use it to cook your soup, or you can actually boil it and eat it alongside your food. And then this is lemon. Lemon carries a whole lot. Lemon is very good for digestion. Lemon is good for weight loss. Lemon is good for those that are having diabetes and what have you. And when it comes to naturality, you don't abuse things of nature, because anything done in excess is opposed by nature. If you take it to the extreme, it will give you the extreme. So you must be careful, and that's why we bring up seminars like this to teach you how to use them. There was a time I used lemon, and I fell sick for a period of time, a very long period of time, because then I was still trying to know much about fruits. I was just starting, and I didn't really know much. I fell sick, and it was not really nice at all. Seeds also come under the garden. There are so many seeds you can use. Some of us, when we want to cook our soup and our stew, we look for spices that come from the garden, and from the factory rather. We look for spices just to season the food, and we leave out our natural spices, which are seeds. You can get some of these seeds from the health shop. You can blend them or grind them with a dry blender, put them in a container, and be putting it in your food, and get a whole lot. Our ulcer recipe, one of our ulcer recipe comes from seeds. Okay, well, some of the things I've said here, they just make up only 5% of what I'm going to teach in the main class. There's a seminar that is coming up, and it's a 3-day seminar. For day 1, I'll be talking about poor eating habits that affect our health. Day 2, I'll be talking about hunger and craving, so you know why you're eating this food a whole lot. Day 3, I'll be talking about benefits of nature, how you can use all of these things for your own good. The class is still 1,500 naira today. By tomorrow, it will be 2,000 naira. I already have some people in the paid class that are still in this elementary class. This is just an elementary class. I just wanted you to have an awareness of what is going to come up in the main class. Like you see here, it's an elementary health class. So if you really want to be a part of this and you want to learn more, I would appreciate it if you make payment of 1,500 naira today, after which tomorrow it will be 2,000 naira to the account number, and then send me a screenshot of your debit, and you'll be added to the paid class. The earlier, the better. Thank you very much.